The balance and the growing energy of opposite emotions are perfectly normal. They teach us to realize how important love, compassion, and abundance truly are by allowing us to experience what it feels like to miss their opposites. The true value of love can only be known through experiencing it or feeling the lack of it. When there is no emotional energy left to fuel the two opposite emotions during the shifts, the manifestation of the original thought becomes reality. In other words, when the increasing positive emotion and the increasing negative emotion both reach their limit and come together, the thought becomes reality. I call it an original thought because the entire manifestation process stops once a new thought takes the place of the original thought. This new thought then becomes the new original thought. It seems that a new thought only replaces the original thought if the belief in the new thought is stronger than the belief in the original thought. This peculiar aspect of the creation process can be likened to a flower that hasn't had water for a few days, but continues to grow. So, a new thought arising during the manifestation process of another thought doesn't necessarily have to ruin everything, as long as it's just a passing thought. These passing thoughts seem to coincide with emotional shifts and give us the opportunity to change our thought. However, if we don't like that passing thought, we can simply let it pass and move on. People who have attempted to apply the law of attraction know that they are responsible for everything happening around them. They also learn that negative thinking stemming from fear is not allowed. While people do everything to make their dreams come true, they may still have passing thoughts like, "What am I doing?" or "That will never happen." These thoughts often come up before they can be stopped. But if someone believes that these negative thoughts should not occur, they think they messed it up. They begin to wonder if the thought will still manifest because of this single moment of weakness. Instead of picking themselves up and realizing it's just a fleeting thought, they are overwhelmed by fear. The fear that they've ruined their plans. This doubt or fear is totally unnecessary. This part of the original law of attraction theory has misled people. All we need to do is maintain our old belief in a thought and continue our journey towards the manifestation of our thoughts or dreams. When we allow the emotion of fear to take over, we only create a new belief based on this fear. Then we interrupt the original manifestation process and start a new cycle, leading to disappointment. Big thoughts will generate big emotional swings during the buildup of energy, while small thoughts are hardly felt. When someone says they're going to turn on the television, the emotions created by this thought aren't even felt because they are too small and insignificant. But when someone says they're going to confront their boss with a problem, both good and bad, emotions can go in all directions until the moment of confrontation arrives. The experience, the event, is a gift of emotions, the desired emotions, relief, joy, happiness, satisfaction, or conversely, disappointment, sadness, failure. It all depends on the individual's choice. What are we thinking, and what do we believe? The experience will always evoke an emotion similar to the emotion created by the initial thought, filled with an emotion of love or filled with an emotion of fear. It's good to know which emotional frequency you're on. Can the flower of life represent the creation process as described in this book? Does this image show how life bends time and space to fit our desired experiences? Each oval shape is created at one point, opens up, and comes together at another point, in perfect harmony with other oval shapes. Isn't that how life perfectly fits the manifestations of our thoughts into our reality? In perfect circles or cycles, all interconnected, transforming life into a balanced masterpiece? This ancient and enchanting symbol, composed of perfect circles merging harmoniously, serves as a window into the mystery of creation itself. The flower of life is not only found in the architecture of ancient temples and sacred sites around the world, but also in the fabric of our existence. It symbolizes the unity of all life, the dance of planets, the growth of flowers, and even the nature of our souls. It invites us to contemplate the web of connections that surrounds and permeates everything. It reminds us that we are part of a greater whole, and within this beautiful symmetry lies the potential to reinvent ourselves and consciously create. Can this symbol guide us on our journey of discovery? Can it inspire us to embrace the mysteries of life as we tread our own paths of evolution? Chapter 15. Failing and Detours. Often, a new thought and belief arise during a negative emotional shift toward the manifestation of an initial thought. This new belief stops the manifestation time of the initial thought. But what happens then? We will go through this process in detail. The bottom line is that we not only have the power to create things, but also to destroy them. We can actually halt the process of creation simply by changing our belief. A new belief or thought starts an entirely new process, and is usually based on a new negative thought because we have lost faith in the initial thought, our first thought. On page 183 of this book, a situation is shown where faith in an initial thought is no longer present. The process was stopped and restarted based on a new negative thought. Then faith was lost again, and another new negative thought was created, manipulating the manifestation process once more by a new negative belief that created another new cycle. This is precisely what happens when people become depressed or feel like everything in their life is going wrong. This structure explains why some people are fortunate while others are not. Some people become frustrated when they see someone else has everything they desire. The real truth is that everyone is responsible for their own creations. If we choose to keep replacing our old beliefs with new ones, then that's our choice. No one else is responsible for it. We cannot envy people who seem to have more than we do. They have already experienced the opposite emotional states required to achieve what they have today, while others have not. Skeptics might argue that some people are born with wealth and without problems. But what if we look at these people in the long run? Isn't it strange that many of these fortunate people, who were successful throughout their youth, face many issues as they get older? What if we just don't see their personal problems or struggles? The truth is that we can't cheat in life, and we can't bypass the balance of life. It must be maintained, whether we like it or not. We simply have to play this game called life. When a new thought and belief arise from fear, this new belief will eventually lead to an unpleasant experience for the person, simply because a new negative emotional state is invoked by the person's thought. Life itself does not consider this choice of thought as bad. It's just an emotional state we can choose to experience with our free will. However, this doesn't necessarily mean that the manifestation of that new thought will actually occur, as we can change our belief as often as we like. When we utter or think the words, "I want," it's important to pay attention to the emotions these words evoke. If these words or thoughts bring about a sense of lack or fear, this will determine the nature of the resulting event, with the manifestation also producing an emotion based on the frequency of fear. On the other hand, when a person expresses "I want" in a positive manner while already feeling happy, joyful, and so on, the resulting event will be equally enjoyable. Saying "I want" is entirely acceptable, contrary to what the original law of attraction has taught us. What truly matters are the emotions underlying a thought. Words can reinforce a belief and influence the mind, but they cannot change our belief if our emotional state is strong enough. Life is always a reflection of our thoughts, manifested through our beliefs. It's actually our emotional expression that's responsible for every good and bad experience on our life's path, shaping our personal reality. Each person is responsible for everything that happens in their life, even if the situation involves many other people, even if it seems impossible. Often we blame something or someone else instead of taking responsibility. But at the same time, we have forgotten the collective consciousness, the similar beliefs created by large groups of people. We don't realize that we are responsible for our personal problems, and we also don't realize that humanity as a whole is responsible for much larger problems. Similar thoughts shared by a large group of people make events possible that have a significant impact on the world. Our collective beliefs are just another part of this perfectly balanced structure. It's the same creation process but on a larger scale, as part of a greater whole. When we look at a collective belief or thought, the importance of our emotional power becomes truly evident and how it influences our personal lives. People who constantly complain about the structure of society will often experience the most frustration and negativity while living in this society, which they label as bad or wrong. Even those who complain less will still experience some degree of negativity throughout their lives, simply because they complain, albeit not as extremely as those who complain constantly. While both groups share similar or identical thoughts stemming from our collective consciousness, it ultimately comes down to the personal emotional energy we invest in those thoughts. Sometimes we encounter emotions that we barely know or have never experienced at all. For example, if we win the lottery, we can feel intense joy, a kind of ecstasy, the highest happiness, similar to the feeling parents have at the birth of their child. Even if these emotions are entirely new to us, we seem capable of feeling them, at least partially, through our imagination. Just as we can learn skills at work or school, we can also learn to understand a particular experience or emotion by empathizing with someone else. We literally mimic. That's what we do, similar to children in kindergarten. In fact, our imagination is activated, and this desired or mimicked emotion is brought into our personal space, into the present. But for most of us, it's not enough to feel the emotion through our imagination. We want to have the real experience. From that moment on, once we create the thought to manifest this emotional state into our physical reality, we must also confront the opposite emotion of this brand new emotion if we want it to be reflected in our physical reality. People often do this, especially the last 2 generations. A large number of children, teenagers, and young adults try to mimic the behavior of celebrities. They strive to be cool, want to be popular, and crave acceptance within the group. They imitate the behavior of others without really understanding what it takes to be successful, rich, or famous. Some even believe they need to buy expensive clothing or have the latest smartphone to be successful or fit in, when in reality, these are just excuses or desperate attempts to become something else without knowing how. This behavior is a clear example of how people give away their own power. When money, fashion, jealousy, ego, or the desire to be better than others becomes more important than life's true pleasures like love, warmth, and enjoyment, it's a sad situation. It's frustrating because it has nothing to do with who we truly are. Life is beautiful, but it would be even more beautiful if we could rid ourselves of foolish behavior and ego. However, we can't blame anyone else because society has shaped us. Still, media manipulation and the emphasis on superficial behavior in the spotlight are considered to be one of the main causes of this behavior. Another reason why people often behave the way they do is that we all seem to be drawn to things we're not supposed to do. People constantly judge each other and try to control each other's lives by telling them what is right and wrong. We pass judgments with our thoughts, but we can also do this through our verbal expressions, by pointing out others' mistakes. By telling others that something is wrong, we actually only feed the collective thought, the idea of this so-called problem. This behavior not only affects our personal lives, but also the behavior of other people. If a person's emotional state is not strong enough to reject another's idea, the idea is simply copied. That's why children often feel drawn to things that are forbidden or not allowed, because the belief in them has been created, and they simply are attracted to experiencing both emotional states once the main thought enters their minds. When we pass judgments and try to control other people's lives, we also tend to act in the same way, albeit perhaps in a slightly different manner. It's how life works. As thoughts are formed, beliefs are created. If thoughts and beliefs are shared, and if other people allow themselves to be influenced by these ideas, the behavior will be repeated over and over again. It's no coincidence that people challenge authority. It's no coincidence that people revolt during revolutions. It's a reflection of the buildup of control to the extreme. A painful subject from history is human sacrifice, as documented in our history books. But why did this happen? Were people really intending to create the most terrible emotional states only to receive the greatest reward, from their perspective? This could explain a lot. We know that the Mayans sacrificed people to the gods, in the hope that the gods would return. Did they really create the most terrible and painful situations to gain the greatest reward from their perspective? Even worse are the stories of satanic rituals where children were sacrificed. Did these people also attempt to create the most terrible emotional states in exchange for the greatest love from their sick perspective? One thing is certain. This theory could also explain this strange, abnormal, and terrible phenomenon. If people intentionally raise negative emotions during the manifestation period of a thought, are we also capable of speeding up the manifestation process? If that's the case, and it seems to be, this means we can manifest everything we desire much more quickly. If we want to attract something positive into our lives quickly, we can intentionally create situations where the opposite, negative emotions appear earlier, so that the positive event also occurs more rapidly. It seems that we can accelerate the changes in emotions during the manifestation process if we choose to do so. Thousands of people around the world still believe that the 9/11 attacks were a domestic affair. that the US government gave itself a reason to go to war by intentionally causing this issue. If a moment comes when we know the full truth, and if these claims turn out to be true, they employed the same methods as ancient people did when sacrificing humans, creating chaos to gain something in return. Thoughts and collective thoughts bring about a reaction. It's up to us to try to predict what life will bring us in the coming years. Chapter 16. A little prediction. It seems that we can consciously slow down or speed up the manifestation time. But what about predicting the actual manifestation time? Can we anticipate when a future experience will enter our lives? Some people in the past, such as Nostradamus or the Maya civilization, managed to do this, but how exactly did they do it? Did they see the increasing emotional shifts leading to an event? Did they understand that these emotional shifts are part of a cycle? Did they have insight into the universal cycle of creation? Did they possibly predict negative shifts in the future because they understood the ultimate outcome? Did they anticipate negative emotional shifts because they also saw the positive shifts toward an event? There's a strong chance that this was the method by which they could make some accurate predictions. There simply doesn't seem to be any other explanation. If we can slow down manifestation time, for example, by saying, "I'm going to the supermarket tomorrow, even if I should actually go today," then it's entirely possible that we can also significantly shorten the manifestation time of a thought by taking immediate action when the opportunity arises, by consciously accepting or confronting the negative emotions that occur, or simply by ignoring the so-called fast thoughts when they arise. When we consciously accelerate, we actually increase the speed of all the peaks and valleys on the way to the manifestation of a thought, which is perfectly acceptable if we can handle the dramatic and powerful emotional shifts at times. If we know that opposite emotions will occur, and understand that we can influence manifestation time, is it not possible to predict the future? If we clearly know what we want to attract into our lives and understand that we will also experience the opposite emotion, we could anticipate what will happen during the manifestation period. For example, if someone declares that they will quit smoking, and the emotion behind that thought is based on a genuine belief that they can quit, motivated by a desire, determination, or any other positive thought, then they can already prepare for moments in time when it will be challenging. They know there will be challenges, but if they hold on to their belief, they will successfully quit smoking. Ultimately, they can prepare in advance for moments when their positive emotion might be replaced by a negative emotion. Since we know that negative emotions will appear one way or another, we can't escape them. All we can do is try to predict when they will occur. Another example is when someone decides to change their whole life by overcoming their shyness. Even if this person, in this example, strongly believes they can achieve this, they understand that there will be moments when their shyness will be severely tested. There will be at least one or more situations where this issue re-emerges, even if everything seemed normal the day before. So, if this person, for instance, has a job interview scheduled a few days later, they can prepare for possible negative emotional changes due to the circumstances. Understanding this principle allows us to prepare for these so-called challenging moments. It becomes easier to address our personal obstacles when we are willing to accept them. Knowing in advance about potential obstacles allows us to say, "This is just one of those days. I'm not too worried. It's perfectly normal for this issue to resurface in my life. I will persevere." Or simply, "It's temporary. Tomorrow is a new day." If more people embraced this mindset, or if everyone aspired to understand it, there would be significantly less failure in people's lives. People are wonderful, but sometimes we just need to open our eyes and look closer. If there's one thing most people on this planet can agree on, it's that life always rewards us with what we give to others. When we give love, we receive love in return, even if we can't see it immediately. Negative emotions allow us to understand what real love truly means. They enable us to compare emotions like anger, hate, and sadness with emotions like joy, happiness, excitement, and pleasure, to figure out what brings a smile to our face and what makes us feel down or anxious. It's up to us to choose which experiences we want to embrace with our free will. Karma is a beautiful example of this. What we give to the world will eventually be reflected in our own reality. What we bestow upon the world will, in one way or another, come back to us, even if it initially seems different. Even businesses and markets apply this give and receive principle. often without even being aware of it. When a store, for instance, offers discounts or coupons, it is, in fact, giving money away. Sooner or later, it will receive what it has given, even if people don't initially seem interested. There is absolutely no debate about the amount of money these companies receive, because it's all about conveying an emotional state. A good example is giving money to a homeless person. Some people consider giving $5 to a homeless person as generous, while someone else may see it as completely normal. It's always the emotion behind a thought that determines what life gives back to you. So, if companies can make their customers feel like they have received something valuable, they will receive the same in return, something valuable to them. We label what is valuable and what is not. We label what is hard to obtain and what is easy to achieve. When a person is aggressive or rude, but still manages to win a fight or debate, that person will encounter a similar form of rudeness or aggression at some point, even if they think they won or were superior at that moment. The feeling of winning was only temporary. At the end of the cycle, the person will experience a similar emotion to the one created by the initial thought. When the event occurs, the person will encounter an equal amount of aggression. This is how life punishes those who harm others, a principle that arises from the balance of life. However, there is one concern when looking at the balanced structure of human thoughts and experiences. What if a person genuinely believes they are doing something good while the rest of the world sees it as bad? We always get back what we do to others, but what if someone truly believes that causing pain to others is entirely normal? It seems that a person is only punished if they know they are causing harm to others or affecting their lives. If a person thinks and truly believes they are doing the right thing, based on a deep faith, as some people say, God has commanded me to do this, then that person can get away with the deeds they have done. They will not be punished, as others might expect. This is because that person's belief and perception are completely different from those of other people. What some consider wrong is seen as right in the eyes of another. When we see public figures on television doing terrible things and seemingly getting away with their actions, it often remains unclear what they are experiencing when karma takes its toll, or even if karma plays a role. Karma is all about an emotional state that is reflected and often hidden from the outside world. On television, these people may look perfect, but there is a great possibility that they experience numerous personal issues throughout their lives. Think of physical health problems, extreme emotional fluctuations, difficulties in relationships, and even financial or psychological issues that the public never gets to see. In recent years, we have seen many politicians grappling with professional challenges while simultaneously experiencing personal issues. At the same time, we see more government secrets being revealed, matters that have been deliberately concealed from the public for a long time. It appears that the balance of life is at work. This prolonged period of disinformation could not have lasted forever. This new wave of revelations, protests, and revolutions, a phenomenon we are witnessing globally, seems to be gaining strength in the coming years, provided this theory holds some truth. We can clearly observe the shifts happening around us, but what will happen with the global financial crisis? What events await us in the future? Knowledge is indeed power, and it is high time we realize that. It's time for profound changes. I sincerely hope that this theory will bring us closer to a true understanding of how our society and our lives are shaped. If every individual were aware of the fact that you cannot harm others without harming yourself in the long run, no one would dare to harm others at all. Unfortunately, most people do not fully grasp this yet. What isn't today could be tomorrow or the day after. Never try to stop the unstoppable. Never try to stop evolution. We can all start exploring the balance of life by attempting to predict what will appear in our lives in the coming days or weeks. We now understand that every thought generates two opposing emotions, but perhaps we can more accurately determine which opposing emotions are actually triggered after a positive or negative emotion arises from our thoughts. When we know the time duration between the emergence of a thought and the manifestation of that thought, for example, when we have something planned in the near future, it becomes easier to predict when the shift in emotions will occur. However, it can be more challenging to predict emotional states in the long term, especially when we are trying to manifest something significant or when we have limited information about what we want to achieve. I sincerely hope that you are on your way to manifesting the things you've always desired. Dreams that may not have been realized earlier due to a lack of proper insights into the original law of attraction theory. We evolve and adapt. That's what we do. Thank you for purchasing this book, and I genuinely hope that you find a way to manifest your dreams, enjoy your personal growth in the coming years, and become an inspiration to the next generation of people on this planet. Chapter 17. Final Word. As someone who used to dislike books, I never thought I would write a book myself. It felt like an overwhelming project that seemed endless at times, and sometimes it seemed like it was only for my personal use, despite my initial desire to share my theory with the world. I've always been aware of having a low self-esteem, and I've worked hard on it. Now, I have finally found peace in being who I am. My life journey has been filled with ups and downs, and the only difference between you and me is that I had different dreams than you. Each of us has our own goals and life vision that can be pursued, achieved, accepted, or overcome. If a simple, introverted person like me can find the strength to share my life story with the world, even after not daring to pick up the phone a few months ago, then anyone can refine themselves and achieve their dreams. It sometimes takes courage, that's for sure, but life often forces you to take a step that has long been in the making after difficult times. However you look at it, nature ensures that the right elements are present to realize or experience something. Although they are not always pleasant experiences, they have a purpose, even if only to open our eyes. Failure is just part of the process, and it's all about how resilient you are and how you get back up. In my life, I've learned numerous skills, from professional music production to complex 3D animations, from photography to building my own music studio and artworks. People started wondering at one point how I could achieve all of this in one lifetime and before my 38th birthday. The answer is simple. You can achieve anything if you're driven and patient with yourself. Often there were people around me who had less patience with me than I had with myself, simply because I knew the path I needed to tread. Even when it seemed to others that I was doing nothing, making no progress, and kept running into the same issues, I knew better. You have to persevere and believe in yourself to achieve something, even when others focus more on your setbacks. Life has a tendency to clear the way for steps that have long been planned after difficult times. Whatever happens, you can accept these setbacks because they are part of the process of manifestation, without others projecting their beliefs onto you. Often, it's the people who care about you the most who can shake your confidence. But by doing what you believe in and then showing them the results, they can also grow and learn about the forces truly at work behind the scenes. I have learned what my personal obstacle was. Everyone praised me for everything I did, but I didn't see it myself. It was never good enough in my own eyes. I was too hard on myself, partly due to my low self-esteem. I viewed my introverted nature as a hindrance, and I thought my slender build made me unsuitable to stand out among all the beautiful people in society. But all of this was an illusion, created by my own beliefs that I cherished for years, without breaking free from them. I created that reality, and I limited my world, despite my grand dreams. Now I understand where it went wrong. My music wasn't the problem, my book wasn't the problem, my graphic work wasn't the problem, my family wasn't the problem, my working conditions weren't the problem. Even my introverted nature, which sometimes made my world feel lonely, wasn't the problem. The only one getting in the way of themselves was me.